Hello everyone, this is Suyash from Scalar. Welcome to the second module of Azure Fundamentals course. In this module, we'll be understanding everything related to what actually Azure is and the different important core services of Azure. But before we start off with the video, check out Scalar's masterclass by industry leading experts only on Scalar's event page. Link is in the description below. Now let's get started. So guys, welcome to the module 2 of our Azure Fundamentals course. Now in this particular module, we'll be understanding everything related to Azure, the different core services of Azure, the cost management of Azure, and the other details as well. So since we have covered everything of cloud computing basics in the previous modules, now we are going to understand about module 2, which is all about Azure. So guys, let us understand first what actually Azure is, right? So Azure is a cloud platform by Microsoft that offers various cloud services and resources for managing and storing data. Azure is nothing but a cloud service provider, as I told earlier also. Now Azure is managed by Microsoft, right? And it offers different cloud services and cloud related resources like computing, networking, storage, right? All of these things are provided by Azure, and you just need to access the Azure portal to utilize all of these resources. Now then we have the users can conveniently access these services via the Azure portal when connected to the internet. This type of public cloud which is provided by Azure is very easier for your applications to up and running. Okay, now and because of the pay-as-you-go model, it makes it easier even to know how much the cost will be used for a certain kind of project or for a certain kind of resource which we want. Okay, and for a certain period of time as well. So Microsoft Azure services are widely used across all industries for running applications, storing and analyzing data. Okay, software development, machine learning, artificial intelligence, and other services as well. One more point, guys, which I want to tell, Azure is kind of leading in the different cloud service providers, considering the part where machine learning, analytics, artificial intelligence occurs. Why? So Azure, the part of Azure machine learning is something which is very easier to understand and easier to use, and also very robust if you want to work towards the artificial intelligence or machine learning side, right? So then what we have, Azure offers 4 different forms of, so there is a small mistake over here. It will be 3 different forms of cloud computing, which is infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. Yeah, oh sorry, yeah. 4 different forms. One more which is added is serverless functions. Okay, serverless also I'll let you know what actually serverless means in the later part. We have a small part where we'll be understanding about serverless computing as well. So Microsoft adopts a pay-as-you-go model for Azure, where subscribers receive a monthly bill based solely on the specific resources and services they have utilized, right? So again, cost analysis as well, and what the billing cycle is also on a monthly basis. So if you want to know how much cost has been taken care, you can go to the Cost Explorer option as well, and you can also understand the different costings which has happened on a monthly basis. You'll get a mail you'll get a bill via the mail, and you will, like, all the resources which you have used for that particular month will be shown over there, and you can directly pay it from your UPI or maybe credit card or debit card. There are various options which is available. Okay, so this is all about the Azure. And also one more thing, it's the servers which is there in Azure is very much efficient than the other cloud service providers. Also, one more factor which adds up to Azure is that there are a lot of consumer market which already have established a connection with the Microsoft products. Okay, now by establishing a connection with Microsoft products is like from the previous years as well, we have been using Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, Excel. So these are something which are very commonly used by a majority part of people in the world, right? Now since that is something which is very common and majority people are using it, that's why it's very easy to migrate or maybe use Azure. So this was a basic overview about Azure. Now why you should use Azure? first and foremost, which is security. So the security side of Azure is way better than other cloud service providers. Okay, since if you also see the Azure portal, it's a very simple portal, yet the backend is really strong. Okay, the backend is really strong, and whatever you want to create, suppose if you want to create a virtual machine, there are very small options available while you create a virtual machine, which caters to the factor of your security. Okay, it's the best, or I guess the leading hybrid cloud solution. So if you have a company, or maybe if your organization is wants to work on a hybrid model, which means that you want to keep some of your data in your physical data center and some of your data on Azure, you can easily do that. Okay, cost effective, yes, it's very much cost effective. Okay, the prices of Azure and the transparency which Azure keeps for the pricing as well, it's way better than all the other CSPs. Quick and adaptable. Okay, so as I said, if it's the best hybrid solution, which means that it can easily get adapted, and it's very quick also, because since the transferring of data happens at a very global level, and all of this are connected via the cables which is there, it's very efficient and very quick. Next, let us understand the different Azure certifications. So guys, mind you, what we will be learning in this particular course is everything related to the Azure Fundamentals, or AZ900 course, AZ900 exam, but I'll just give you a walkthrough on the different kind of certifications which we have in Azure, right? So Azure provides a series of certifications, and it is designed to assist professionals working in cloud computing, or those who are aspiring to begin a career in the cloud computing field. Okay, these certifications are categorized into different levels, and some certifications do not have a group classification, right? So first we have the fundamentals, which is the basic level course. Okay, so as the name suggests, fundamentals, you have to get your fundamentals right. You all know about it, right? So your fundamentals should be correct. Okay, which means at least you should get a knowledge about what are the different services of Azure and how you can leverage the power of Azure for your computation needs. Okay, so fundamentals is something which is really very important. Okay, and you cannot go to the associate or expert or specialty level without clearing the fundamentals. And I mean, it's a very good practice if you first consider the fundamentals and then going on with the associate levels. So here you're having the 3 different Azure certifications related to the fundamental side. So it is tailored for individuals without a technical background who are eager to embark on their cloud computing journey, as well as for emerging cloud professionals who are just initiating their career in the field. So guys, if you are a newbie to this field, even if you are from a non-tech background, right, and you don't have much idea about the technical field as well, so my suggestion will be that you can take up the Azure Fundamentals course or AZ900 course, so that you get an idea about what actually Azure can do on a theoretical level as well and on the practical side as well. This is why the fundamentals are really important. Now, considering there are different type of different type of jobs which are there in the market, right? But if you want to be in this kind of career, right, then you can easily choose by starting you can easily choose your career by starting with the Azure Fundamentals. So guys, in this particular fundamentals badge or maybe fundamental certifications, we have first, which is Azure Fundamentals. We have Azure AI Fundamentals, where we'll be understanding the basics of AI. And then we have Azure Data Fundamentals. So here you will be understanding how the data pre-processing and how the data cleaning, all of these things work, and how you can use the power of data for your work as well. Also, one more thing for all the budding emergents who are coming up in the tech field. So at a certain period of time, you might get an option of choosing your fields, guys. Okay, it's not necessary that you always have to go run towards the data science field, or maybe towards the cloud computing field, or maybe towards complete competitive coding or something like that, right? It's not necessary that you have to get into everything. Okay, you can choose your field. You can think about what you can do and what you can find your way, and you can, I mean, start your journey with that. Even I also tell it to my audience and tell to my users as well, whosoever comes and ask me about which career options I should choose. Guys, it's completely upon you and your thinking ability. Okay, so if you want to go to the data science field, so data science field is something where you need to understand and you need to implement the logical side of it, right? So logic plus the implementation is something, if you have a very good understanding of logic and you are really good in I mean in solving puzzles and solving and you're also somewhat good in mathematics and statistics as well, I would suggest you can go towards the data science field, right? You can also get into the I mean cloud field as well. That's also not a problem. Okay, so also if you want to enter the cloud field, so what things is there? Cloud is basically something where there is a set of rules which is assigned. Okay, set of rules, set of functions which is completely assigned, and you just need to understand all of these functions and implement or maybe create an application by those set of rules. Okay, so this is what is the magic of cloud computing. Cloud computing is basically deploying of the code. Okay, it takes care of the operation side of your application, right? So if you have coded and if you have, I mean, you have a product which is ready, right? Now you want to deploy it somewhere. Cloud computing is the way through which you can understand, right? Even if you're also, one more thing, if your networking fundamentals are good, and by networking fundamentals I mean the computer networking fundamentals are good, right? You can easily get into the site reliability engineer or roles, right? Or maybe a system administrator role, right? Or maybe a cloud admin or a cloud developer role as well, right? So all of these things are basically categorized in such a way. Rest, since tech field is something which is very open and very wide for everyone, so you can choose your own own pathways according to whichever field you like. So let's come back to the point, right? So guys, as I was saying, there are three different certifications of Azure: Azure Fundamentals, AI Fundamentals, and Data Fundamentals. So I hope you got an idea about what the fundamentals means. It's a very basic course which is there. Even if you are from a non-tech background or you are a newbie to get into this field, you can easily join through the fundamentals part. Next, we have the associate level. So associate level is basically the most appropriate for candidates possessing a robust grasp of fundamentals of Azure. If you already have a familiarity with Azure, you are well prepared to incorporate the certifications listed into your resume, showcasing your proficiency in the platform. Okay, so we have Azure Administrator Associate, Azure Developer Associate, Azure Data Scientist Associate, Azure Data Engineer, Azure Database Administrator, Azure Security Engineer, and a Data Analyst Associate role as well. Okay, so all of these levels which is there, okay, you can easily get into it. So guys, since you have a familiarity with Azure, since you have covered the fundamentals of Azure, you can easily get into the associate level roles as well, which means you can go to a niche. Okay, and by niche you can get into Azure Administrator role, Developer, Data Scientist, Data Engineer, Security Engineer, Data Analyst, and even a Database Administrator. This is what actually associate level means, which means that if you are familiar with all of the Azure services, you can utilize all of these services to create your own applications. Okay, so this is kind of an entry level or rather not an entry level I would say, but actually a mid-level part where you can easily get into your field. So if you want to go to the administrator side involves managing storage, managing the application, managing the IAM resources, right? Developer is basically if you want to create your own applications. Data scientist, you all know about data scientist as well. Data engineer is also similar. Database administrator where someone will be taking care of the storage part. Security engineer, where someone will be taking care of the security side of your application, or maybe the Azure cloud itself. Okay, then data analyst is also there, right? So these are the different associate level certifications. Next, talking about expert level. So expert level is basically which is designed for those with a solid background in cloud, including an associate level certification and a hands-on cloud experience. So if you already have experience and a good understanding of Azure at the associate level, you can pursue an expert certification. There are two different expert level certifications which is there, one is Azure Solutions Architect, another is Azure DevOps Engineer. Okay, so solutions architect is basically someone who creates an application from scratch. Okay, and they are basically involved in everything related to what that application does. Okay, there is no specific data analyst or specific roles. The solutions architect is the complete owner of that particular application. Okay, then we have Azure DevOps Engineer. So that engineer will be working towards the DevOps side of it, how to create a pipeline, how to automate the flows and everything, right? So all of these things is taken care by the Azure DevOps Engineer. So guys, getting into the expert level is kind of tough, I would say. You need to create the, you need to pass with the associate level certification and even have some hands-on experience, or by hands-on experience I mean industry level hands-on experience on Azure cloud. Okay, so this is all about the expert level certifications. Now I hope we are clear with everything related to the expert level. Now after that we have specialty level certifications which is there. So these specializations emphasize majorly towards the Azure IoT developer specialty, or maybe Azure SAP or virtual desktop. Virtual desktop is something which is very recent, and these specialty levels Azure certifications are designed to provide in-depth expertise in the specific areas, allowing professionals to showcase their specialized skills and knowledge within the Azure ecosystem. So Azure for SAP workloads, Azure Virtual Desktop, Azure IoT Developer, very niche kind of work which will be there, and that's why it's called a specialty level certification. So if your organization is working for SAP, IoT, or maybe working towards the virtual desktop side, it's really good to have this type of certification. So guys, this was a complete overview about the different Azure certifications. Okay, and now we'll be understanding more about Azure Fundamentals, which is the fundamental certification as I told earlier. There are around more than 150 plus Azure services which is present within the Azure portal, within the Azure cloud, but here we are going to understand more about the core services of Azure. Okay, so there are 4 different core services of Azure. One is compute, second is storage, third is network, and fourth is security. So let us start with the computational service. So Azure Compute Service. The Azure Compute Service plays a crucial role in hosting and running applications, ensuring they are live and available. Okay, now what does this actually means? Azure Compute is basically providing you a computational resource within the Azure portal environment. You don't have to get a physical system, or maybe a physical laptop or a PC, right? You can easily go and create a virtual machine on your Azure portal. This is what actually virtual machine means, right? So Azure Compute is basically related to all of the computational resources. All of the things which you want to work on a computational environment is taken care by Azure. It serves as the foundation for executing various applications in a real-time environment. In a real-time environment, that particular computational resource can help you to work on everything. Okay, suppose you want to make some calculations, suppose you want to add a file, suppose you want to work on a certain project, right? So all of these things, if your physical system is maybe not able to cater that, you can create your virtual machine on your Azure portal and you can use it to leverage all of the functionalities, right? So Azure Compute handles deployment, hosting, management, and the actual running of applications, making it essential for the overall functioning of diverse software in the Microsoft Azure ecosystem. Azure Computation can take care of hosting, it can take care of maintenance, it can take care of the management side, it can take care of the storage, it can take care of provisioning and deprovisioning of resources. All of these things can be taken care within the computation. You can consider Azure Compute as your own laptop or as your own PC, which is there as your own CPU, right? So, but which is present on the internet. Okay, so this is what actually Azure Compute takes care, anything related to the computational power. This service provides the necessary infrastructure to support the execution of the applications seamlessly. It provides you the necessary infrastructure which is there to support the execution of the applications, which means that so the data center will provide you the computational power, the data center will provide you the resources which is required and everything related to it, so that your execution can happen in a very seamless manner. This is just an overview about the computational power, right? Now Azure Compute Services has three major things. Okay, one is Azure Virtual Machine, then is Azure App Service, and then is Azure Functions, which is serverless computing. Guys, in this particular lecture we'll be catering more towards the virtualization or Azure Virtual Machine part, because in the exam, the Azure Virtual Machine practical or the hands-on part, you need to understand in a more detailed manner. Most of the questions come related to the compute part itself. Okay, so you have to pay attention more towards the Azure Virtual Machine rather than app services or the serverless computing, because those are just the theoretical concepts which will be there, but there will be major questions from the Azure Virtual Machine part. Now, to understand Azure Virtual Machine, first we need to understand what actually virtualization is, right? So let's go by the definition first. Virtualization is a technology that allows you to create a simulated or virtual version of something, such as computer or an operating system, within another system. To make it more simpler, right now I am using a MacBook, right? So the operating system is Mac OS, right? What if I want to run a Windows operating system on my MacBook? Can that happen? So the ideal answer would be no, but in this case this can happen by the usage of the by utilizing the power of virtualization. Okay, and to utilize the power of virtualization, you require virtual machines. Okay, you require virtual machines to be created. Now, by the word of virtual machine, you can understand it is virtual and machine, which means that it's something which is not visible in a physical manner, right? So with the help of virtualization, you can easily run a Windows operating system on your Mac OS. Okay, now this physical level of virtualization happens. Like if you want to add a Windows operating system, you can easily download a software, maybe a VMware or a VirtualBox, and these kind of softwares can help you to create your virtual machine of Windows and you can use it. But what if this kind of machine needs to be used by many number of users, right? So if I basically, let me help you with this particular diagram, so that it's easy. So let's take an example. This is my MacBook, right? So I'm just mentioning it as admin MacBook. Okay. Now within this admin MacBook, since it's of Apple, so Mac OS will be running in this as an operating system. But what if I want to I want to add operating system which is the Windows operating system? What if I want to add, or what if I want to run a Windows operating system on my MacBook? How can this happen, right? So to do that, we need a layer of virtualization in between this. Now this layer, I'm adding it here, this layer acts as an interface between the physical hardware and the operating system. Okay, so this is known as virtual machine. Okay, now this virtual machine helps you to basically divide. Now by this virtual machine, it doesn't mean that Windows will be running on your MacBook, on your MacBook, and then the Mac OS will get destroyed or something like that. No, Mac OS will also be running and Windows will also be running in a simultaneous manner. Okay, now how this happens? So this happens because of the virtual machine. This happens because of the virtual machine. The virtual machine will do something which is known as disk fragmentation. Okay, I'll mention it here. Disk fragmentation. So disk fragmentation means, suppose if your MacBook right now can work maybe with a 4 GB RAM, so then the rest 4 GB RAM can be used for this virtual machine. Okay, and this rest of the virtual machine can be used by Windows at that time. And by 4 GB RAM, I mean if right now your work, whatever task you are doing on your MacBook doesn't take much storage or doesn't require much memory, then why not provide that extra memory to Windows, right? Since you want both of your operating system to work simultaneously, why not provide this extra memory which is left for you, which is of no use basically, you can provide it to Windows. This can be done using virtual machine. Okay, so you can easily create your own virtual machine, or maybe you can create your own Windows operating system on your admin MacBook by the help of virtual machine. There are different kind of virtual machines there available, so let me search for you. I know majorly there are two, which is VirtualBox and VMware, but let's see. Best virtual machines for Mac, we can see that. So VMware Fusion is there, Parallels Desktop is there, Windows 365 Cloud, Crossover. So there are many virtualization softwares which you can get. I hope you get an idea on virtualization, especially by this diagram. So this is how the virtualization occurs. Now let us understand the same factor, the same concept, but in a cloud level. Why in a cloud level? Because now this is your MacBook, right? Only you can use. What if one of my friend who also wants to add some of his information on this Windows machine, right? That can't happen because I won't be able to give my MacBook every time to every person, right? So that's why cloud is required, to increase the number of users so that they can simultaneously work on a single environment. So that's why this thing is involved. I mean, cloud computing is involved. Let us understand Azure Virtual Machine. Okay, so an Azure Virtual Machine is a computing resource provided by Microsoft Azure, which is a cloud computing platform. Azure VMs allow you to run virtualized Windows or Linux servers in the cloud. These virtual machines operate just like the physical computers, but are hosted and managed in Microsoft's data center. A virtual machine is also basically the same kind of work which we do using the VMware, using VirtualBox, right? So it's the work is absolutely similar to any kind of virtualization software, but this virtual machine is working on cloud, or rather I would say this is working by the usage of data centers. Okay, by using data centers and using the power and storage capability from the data centers. Azure VMs allow you to run virtualized Windows or Linux servers in the cloud, right? So this is about the virtual machine. We'll know more detail about how you can create your own virtual machine when we'll be doing the hands-on part. So guys, this is basically how the virtual machine works. Let us create the virtual machine and let us understand how the concept works. So guys, this is the virtual machine which is there, and this is the user. Okay, now the virtual machine is binded by a subnet. By a subnet, I mean there is a single network which is provided to the virtual machine, which is enabling us to communicate, right? So this is the virtual network. So this is subnet is basically I mean the network, or maybe the, so guys, Azure Virtual Network, as I said earlier, Azure Virtual Network is basically providing you all of the resources related to the networking side through which you can communicate with your virtual machine. Okay, and then there is also a security group layer as well, which means you have to add your own security related features, whether you want a certain user to enter that particular resource or not. Everything will be taken care in the security group side, and this is the Azure environment. So guys, let us just start with creating our own virtual machine. For that, first I'll directly start from the Azure portal. So when you open your portal, it will be something like this. If virtual machine is not there, then you can search it from here and you'll find the virtual machine here. If not, then you can directly go and open the virtual machine from here. So now next what you have to do is you need to click on create. Okay, so there will be 4 different options for you. First is create a virtual machine. Create a virtual machine with presets based on your workloads. Create a new Azure Arc virtual machine in one of your non-Azure environments. Then we have Azure VM Solution virtual machine as well. Okay, we'll not be going with these 3. We'll first be going only with the basic one, which is creating a virtual machine hosted by Azure. So at first you will be asked to check on the subscription side. So subscription right now, since even for me as well as you, it will be free trial version only, because since you all also have created your own virtual machine, so it will be free trial. Otherwise it will be pay as you go model. Okay, then we have resource group. So what actually resource group is? Resource group is a collection of resources that share the same lifecycle, permission and policies. What actually resource groups means? If I want to create a virtual machine for a certain group of people, okay, and I want the access of that particular virtual machine to be only provided to that certain people, right? So I can create my own resource group through which I can provide the access, and it can be accessed only by those people. So let me create a new resource group here. I'll just name it as Scalar. Okay. So just the naming part is done. Virtual machine name, I'll name it as Scalar Demo. So guys, you can choose your own region as well. Okay, there are various regions present here, and you can easily go and you can choose it. Okay, for now I'll keep the East US. Okay, availability options, I am going with availability zone itself directly. Availability zone is zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, which means that there are 3 different data centers available in the East US zone. So you can, if you want, you can create your virtual machine in all of these 3 zones, or if you want to create it only in one zone, you can do that as well. So I'm keeping right now it on the single zone itself. So then what we have, security type. So I'm keeping security type as trusted launch virtual machine only. And image, you can choose the different operating systems which you want. Okay, you can go and click on see all images, and you can check whatever type of operating system you require for your workload. You can use Windows 11, Windows 10, Windows Server, Red Hat Enterprise, Linux, Ubuntu, an older version of Ubuntu, SQL Server, CentOS, and there are many more. Okay, so you can see there are 391 pages added, right? So there are a lot of images, lot of operating systems which is provided according to your usage. Right now I'll just go with the Ubuntu server. Okay, so I'm keeping it that itself. VM architecture, you can keep it as 64 itself, it's fine. Run with Azure Spot Discount. I am not using the Spot Discount as of now because I don't require it. So size will be 1 vCPU and 1 GB memory. So guys, over here this size basically means 1 core processor and 1 GB RAM. Okay, this GIB memory over here means RAM, and 1 vCPU is the core number of processors. So guys, this is something which is very common even when you buy your mobile phones, right? There are various kind of processors available with your mobile phones, like octa-core, quad-core, dual-core processors, right? All of these are there, and there are different RAMs as well, like 4 GB, 2 GB, 8 GB, 16 GB, right? This is basically similar to what you are doing over here. But in my case, right now, I'm using 1 core processor, 1 GB memory. First, why I'm using it? Because it's free, it's considered in the free trial eligibility. Okay, so I'm using this. Authentication type, if you want, you can use the SSH public key, or you can create your own password as well, right? So if you want, I'm keeping it as SSH public key itself. For this, let me help you to understand what actually this means. Let me first name it here. Okay, so guys, Azure as I told you earlier also, it's a shared responsibility model. So let me help you with a diagram so that it's easy. So guys, consider Azure as a lock, okay? Right? You use a lock to lock your doors, to lock your home, right? So there is in that lock you have a keyhole as well, okay? So consider this as the keyhole and this is the lock, right? Now with Azure, what you have two different keyholes, okay? You have two different keyholes. So one key is basically where Azure can access your account, okay? And another is something where user will be having the access. So one key is with Azure, one key is with user. The lock will open only if both of the keys are attached to this lock, right? So Azure will also be having one key and user will also be having key. So when both of the keys are entered, then only you will be able to access your virtual machine. That is how Azure works. This is one of the basic example of shared responsibility model. So let us go and do that. So I'm keeping it as SSH public key, username is this, SSH public key source, and key pair name I'm keeping it as scalar. Okay, this will be my key pair, and username we have over here, and Azure. So Azure now automatically generates a SSH key pair for you and allows you to store it for future use. Okay, so this is what the key pair means. Now I need to provide the traffic, whether I want to allow traffics or not, right? So this is basically the security side of it. So if I want to allow all the traffic as of now, so I'm choosing everything. Next I'll go to disks. Now so disks is basically where you have to manage your hard drive, okay? Just like how you have your your memory, which is the 1 vCPU and 1 GB memory. Similarly, you have to use a hard drive as well, just to store your documents on your virtual machine. So I am using the default 30 GB, going with the premium SSD itself, which is the default one itself. And yeah, nothing much. Next, networking. So networking also I'm keeping it as default. Allow selected ports, it's added itself, right? I'm not making any changes here. Management, so it's basically identity, Azure AD, I don't want to use that. Enable auto shutdown, I don't want. Enable backup also I don't want, because I'm just making a demo account. I'm not using it for any of my work, okay? Monitoring, if you want, you can choose the alert rules, but again it is something where charges will occur, okay? In the rest part there will be no charges if you keep it as default. Next, advanced also I don't require anything as of now. Tags is basically to categorize your resources, to name your resources, that's it, okay? It's an optional thing. If you want to keep your tag, you can do it. If not, then it's completely fine, right? Tag is basically just to differentiate between the different VMs, right? So just that, it's completely optional. And then click on review plus create. So let this get created. It will take a while, and you will also get a estimated price as well, okay? So you can see 0.8168 INR per hour, but it will be it will cut from my credits itself, okay? So all of these are done. Let me create it. So over here it's asking me to generate the key pair, which means I need to download the private key and create the resource. Why? Because that's what Azure actually does. You have to use your own private key, right? You have to use your own private key to access the Azure portal, to access the Azure VM, okay? So I'll click on download private key and create resource. So one private key, which will be of .pem file, will be downloaded to my local system. Okay, so you can see, guys, it's downloaded scalar.pem file. Okay, so this PEM file will help me to enter into my virtual machine. So the deployment is in progress, guys, so it will take a while, but not much. I mean, hardly more 30 seconds to 1 minute itself. So guys, as you can see, our deployment is completed, and we are done. You can let us go to our home and let us go to virtual machines and check. So you can see Scalar demo is running right now. Okay. Oh, status is creating, but let us refresh. And now it's running. Okay. Operating system is Linux. Size you can see. Public IP address is also available. Okay. Everything is shown over here, right? Now let us access our virtual machine, right? Now how will access this virtual machine? Let us go and let us access it. So for that, first I'll click on connect and click on connect, not connect via Bastion. Connect via Bastion will include some charges, so don't go with that as of now. Let's click on connect. Now guys, if you are using a Windows system, then I would suggest you to go to this download this particular software, which is putty.org. okay, you can go to this particular site and download this particular software, which is download putty. So what putty will do over here is basically it will convert your PEM file to a PPK file, okay, to a PPK file, and that PPK file will help you to log in into your virtual machine. Okay, but right now the people who are Mac users, they can easily log in through their own terminal. So you have the option which is SSH using Azure CLI or the native SSH, whatever you want to choose, and there are other options as well, more way to connect, but right now I'll just go with the native SSH itself. Yeah, so guys, over here over here you can see how you can configure and how you can use the native SSH, right? So let this get validating prerequisites before the configuration. Let this happen, and then we'll understand how it can be done. So guys, we are having it running, and now everything is validated also. Native SSH, yes. Okay, so now first step is prerequisites is done. Then we have to use then you have to copy and execute SSH command in your terminal. For opening the terminal, just do a spotlight search. Just do a spotlight search. And now how to open the spotlight search also, guys? Command plus space. Okay, click on command plus space and you will open the spotlight search and search for terminal. Terminal is basically the command prompt part of a Windows system. Okay, so over here I have opened the terminal. I hope it's visible for everyone. Yeah, now first thing, we open a local shell. So I have opened it. Okay, and copy and execute the SSH command. Provide a path to your SSH private key file on your local machine. Fine. Over here you have to provide your SSH private key path so that they can create your own SSH command, so that you can enter into your enter into your portal. So for that, guys, what you have to do, for me, I need to just go to so my file is saved in download section. Okay, my file is saved in download section, so I'll just go over here. So it's scalar.pem, you can see, and what I'll do, I'll just go to get info, which is basically the properties side of it, and I'll check on the where it is situated, right? So this is the this is the path. So what I'll do, I'll just highlight it and I'll copy it. Okay, Control C and copy, and go to your portal again and paste it over here. So this is my path, okay, where my PEM file is situated. And as you can see, guys, as soon as I added my PEM file, the command changed over here. Okay, the command changed over here, and I am able to see that this is the optimized command for accessing my virtual machine. Okay, so what you can do, you can just copy it. Also, guys, if you don't want to do this, you can directly type in your own path where your PEM file is available. Okay, so you can add it over here and you can just copy it from this side. Okay, yeah, one more thing, guys. So as soon as this is added, from the properties, we just added the path. Okay, but we need to also, somebody said something. No, okay. So guys, as soon as you have added the path, you also need to add the destination of, you also need to add the name of the PEM file. Okay, so what you will do, what I'll do over here, and I'll add the PEM file name. So the PEM file name is scalar.pem. Let me just cross check again. Yeah, it's scalar.pem. So I have added this. So now you can see this is the complete command, or complete pathway of my scalar.pem file which is added. Now I just need to copy this, go to the terminal. So here I have opened my terminal and I need to paste it here. Okay, I'll hit enter. Let's see whether this works or not. Are you sure you want to connect? Yes, I'll type in yes, hit enter. Are not accessible. Yes, okay. So guys, there is a small error which has occurred, which is permission is denied. Something we are missing over here, which is we need to perform this option, which is to change the permissions of our file. So as you can see in the file properties also, this file is only a read-only file for the rest of the people. Now since I am using this file to access something which is beyond my network and beyond my physical computer, that's why I need to change the permissions of it from read-only to read and write as well, right? So let me do that. Now to do that, I have to add a command which is chmod 400 and then the private key file name. So let me copy this and I'll paste it in the terminal. Okay, so I'll have to add the private key file. So let me delete this thing and add the pathway. Here is the pathway. Yeah, so this should work. It's saying no such file or directory. Let me check again. Oh yeah, because one extra oblique is added. So let me delete that. I'll again copy it and do the corrections. Fine, and I have to delete one slash, deleted, enter. Okay, let me check again. Okay, chmod 400. Then it's saying dot. Oh, okay, got it. Sorry. Again, a small mistake which was done here. I need to just mention chmod 400. So let me do that. Chmod 400 and then users and whatever is the file name. Let me check over here again whether it's correct or not. So guys, this was the mistake which was happening. We just need to add chmod 400 and space and slash and then this. Yeah, so now the permissions have been changed for our PEM file. Okay, now what you need to do, you need to just copy the ssh-i part which will help you to access your Azure virtual machine. So let us do that. Yeah, so guys, you can see that we have easily able to access our Azure virtual machine. You can see Azure user scalar demo, which is our name of our virtual machine. You can see it over here just to cross check, right? Scalar demo is the name and we are able to log in and into here. Now if you are familiar with any Linux commands, you can easily do and you can easily create a directory or whatever you want. Okay, so I'll just create a directory. I'll do an ls. Ls is basically used to check whether the directory is created or not. So guys, over here directory means just to create a folder, right? So mkdir scalar, I have added a directory. Same way, if I want to create any file, I can apply any type of Linux commands and I can use my terminal as a Linux operating system. So right now I'm using a MacBook as well, and also I got my own personal Linux operating system which I can increase, which I can provision or deprovision according to my need. Okay, that's the power of cloud, and that is how we can easily launch our virtual machine using Ubuntu our Ubuntu virtual machine on our terminal and using Azure. Okay, so guys, one more thing which you all have to keep in mind: whenever you are done with your work, remember to deprovision or delete your resources. Why? Right now, because you all are just learning, in a learning phase, so I don't want any one of you to get any extra cost just because of this. So what you have to do to delete, you need to just click on the particular resource and click on delete. But first you need to stop it as well, since it's running right now, so I need to stop it. So now let me just show you. So guys, it's right now, you can see the status is deallocating. So basically it's stopping. And if I right now try, now you can see over here automatically, you can see connection to this particular IP address has been closed by remote host. So this has automatically affected over here and our Ubuntu system is closed. Okay. Now you have to delete this as well. So you can just click on this and choose the delete option. Enter delete to confirm deletions. Okay, so delete it over here. So let this get deleted, and also you guys have to delete the resources as well. You guys have to delete the resource group. So remember, we created a we created a resource group, so you need to delete that as well. If when you delete this your own virtual machine, after that itself your resource group also gets deleted. Okay, let's see. Oh, it's not deleting. Let us delete it ourselves. Delete resource group. Enter resource group name. So I'll just copy this here and paste it. Delete. Again delete. So guys, this will get deleted automatically. You can see it's saying deleting resource group scalar. Right. So guys, we have deleted everything, and now no extra cost will be incurred for us. So guys, I hope you understood about how to create your own virtual machine, right? We first provided the name of the virtual machine, we added the resource group, we added the storage, we added the networking side of it, right? And we also added the security groups where we allowed HTTPS, SSH and HTTP, right? So all of these things is a part of creating your own virtual machine, right? The resource group has also been deleted. Okay. If it's not, then it will get deleted in a while. It takes some time, so that won't be a problem. Okay, yeah. So guys, this is all about the creation of virtual machine. Now next will be understanding about app services. Okay, so app services and serverless, right? Now Azure App Service is basically a platform as a service cloud which is provided by Microsoft itself. This service takes away some of the additional responsibilities of customer and gives it back to the cloud provider, for which the customer is responsible while working with Azure VMs. So for example guys, in this service, customer does not have to worry about creating a middleware, installing the requirements to create a virtual environment, installing software updates, or maybe any software patches or operating system. Everything is taken care by cloud computing, cloud provider. So an app service is basically a bunch of virtual machines running behind the scenes, but they are completely abstracted from you as an app service plan. Okay, just consider it in this way, that Azure virtual machines are like your own personal computer but in the cloud, and you have full control over it. But considering Azure App Service, you don't have complete control over it because all the hardware and all the operational side is taken care by Azure. But what you can take care is basically the application of it. Okay, and what else? One more thing is there, is that app service is basically when you want to build web apps. Okay, why web apps? Because if something where there will be more users, then it's better to go with app service rather than your own own personal virtual machine. So basically guys, Azure App Service is kind of more utilized towards where you want to think more towards the coding side of it and not considering the infrastructure, right? Infrastructure is taken care by Azure. You just need to focus on coding and creating the application. So I hope Azure App Service is also I hope you understood about Azure App Service. Most of the questions come from Azure virtual machine itself. You need to understand about the virtual machine side of it. You need to understand the basics of it. And then comes Azure Functions or serverless. So you're seeing something over here which is known as serverless, right? Now serverless doesn't mean that there is no server. Okay, it's kind of wrongly mentioned, I would say. I don't know why Azure or any cloud provider mention it as serverless, because it's kind of misleading, but I mean, that's the way of how people do, right? They need to market everything, so serverless is the name. Okay, so Azure Functions or Azure Serverless is a service from Microsoft that lets you run code without worrying about the servers. It responds to certain events or conditions, like when an order comes in an IoT system or a new message arrives in a queue. Then Azure Functions is taken care over there, and it works in a simultaneous manner. So the idea of serverless computing or function as a service is that you don't need to concern yourself with the underlying details of infrastructure, and instead you just need to focus on writing the code. So that is the only work if you're working with serverless. It takes care of all your computing stuffs, like like if you want to provision or deprovision any resources, it will take care automatically. You don't have to worry anything about there, right? And that's why the name serverless is that you don't have to worry about it. Azure will take care of everything, but you don't have to worry about it. Although there are servers involved, there is nothing so-called as serverless. So Azure Functions allows the users to implement their logic in a particular pieces of code. These are known as functions. Various functions run at various times of response, and when the requests increase, Azure Functions create as many resources and functions or instances as required as per their need. Okay, again, when the requests decrease, the extra resources and function instances are deleted automatically. Basically, Azure Serverless is for those people where you're more focused towards the coding side and not thinking much towards the descaling or scaling of your hosting provider, or maybe of where the application is deployed. Serverless computing is basically the cloud computing model where the cloud provider manages the infrastructure dynamically and dynamically allocates the resources as needed. And in this model, the developer focuses on writing and deploying codes itself. So basically, it doesn't mean that there are no servers. Rather, the management and provisioning of servers are abstracted away from the developer. That's all the serverless computing is about. This was all about the computational side, and next we'll be understanding about the different storage services. But for now, this is all about the computing side. So I hope you got an idea about the computing resources. So guys, now we are going to understand about the different Azure storage services. We have completed the compute services part, where we got to understand how the computational stuffs happen on Azure and how you can use it to perform whatever functions you want to do, whatever task you want to do, right, on a virtual machine. Okay, now today we are going to talk about Azure storage services. Now, what actually this storage service means, right? So storage service basically means the place where you can keep all your data, right? So if you are considering a physical environment, right, where you are having a server, you're having your own data center and everything related to it, so you have something which is very in a very physical manner, and it will take a lot of cost for you as well, because you need to scale up and scale down as well, right? So nowadays nobody is relying much on the physical database or the physical storage related things, right? Everything is on cloud, considering from Google Drive, considering from Dropbox, everything is on cloud. right? So similarly, Azure also have their own storage services, and Azure also have their own storage, own ways to store data. Okay, so we are going to learn more about all of the different type of storage services, but first let us understand what actually these storage services are for. So guys, Microsoft Azure Storage is a cloud storage service provided by Microsoft Azure, of course, offering a scalable and secure solution for storing and retrieving data in the cloud. Azure storage is absolutely similar to the things what you also see, like Google Drive is also part of storage, right? So that is also there. Then you have, so with Azure you have lot many other things as well, like table storage, queue storage. So those all things are there which needs to work on a certain type of applications. Okay, considering some applications where there are some functions which needs to be performed, so for that also Azure caters to it. Okay, but one of the most common services which people use is the blob storage, and the blob storage is absolutely similar to the Google Drive and the Dropbox and the OneDrive storages, right? So all of these things where you can actually just dump your data, and whenever you require you can retrieve it. The Azure blob storage is also something similar to that. Okay, but we are going to learn more about it, right? Why should you use Azure storage? First of all, because it's very durable, secure, scalable, managed, and even accessible. Okay, now considering the durable nature, I would say it's, yeah, I mean, it's pretty robust. Okay, your data can't be lost from any place, considering the Azure storage security related features, right? So secure, again, that is also there, like it cannot get lost as well. And also the complete infrastructure which is there, as I showed you all the Azure data center as well, you got to understand how the security features were working in place. They have biometric related like services through which nobody can enter to that secure area, right? It's so much secure. Also considering the cloud infrastructure as well, the security comes into play when there are multi-factor authentication. There is private cloud and public cloud, right? If you want to create a separate cloud or maybe a separate virtual connection, okay, you can also do that, right? So security is also there. Then we have scalable. Now earlier also we had we talked about how cloud itself is scalable. Okay, so similarly Azure storage is also very much scalable. Whenever you want, if your database is more and if you want to add more files to it, Azure can easily provision or deprovision its resources, and in that way it can provide the scalable solutions as well. Now managed, so again over here also the shared responsibility model comes up, where you have to manage, like I mean some of the things you have to manage, which means that you have to take care of your passwords through which you can enter into the storage services, and then the total infrastructure managing is also taken care by Azure, right? So so managed as well, because Azure provides each and every aspect for you to take control of your data. Okay, it's very much secure and you can easily take control of it. Considering the accessibility factors, so yes, it's very much accessible also. As I said earlier as well, if you want, you can access it from any part of the world. You just require a continuous internet bandwidth connection. So that's all about a brief on how Azure works. Okay, now we are going to understand more about the different type of storage services. So guys, we have number one, which is there is blob storage. Okay, so let me mention it in a diagram for you all. So this is the complete Azure storage, and here I am just adding a few more things which is there. So this is blob storage. Okay, then we have one more which is the queue storage. Then we have one more which is the file services, or rather file storage also you can mention it. Then we have table storage. Okay, so we'll be understanding all of these different storage methods and how do they all work. Okay, so let us go back to it. I hope I'm not missing any other storage. Blob is there, file is there, queue is there, table is there. Yes, perfect. Okay, So yeah, so we are back to it, and yes, let's understand what actually blob storage is for. Okay, but before that, just a second. So guys, also one more thing which I wanted to tell you all over here is that Azure Storage offers a massive scalable object store for data objects as well. Okay, a small, like a kind of a file system as well, which can also provide you NoSQL database as well. Okay, NoSQL database means that you don't have to understand how to retrieve and how to add the data. Okay, you just can drag and drop and just get your data from there, right? So this was the brief about Azure storage services, and now let's come to blob storage. Okay guys, blob storage is kind of a cloud-based storage service which is provided by Azure, and it allows you to store and manage large amounts of unstructured data such as text or binary data. Okay, it saves text and binary data to facilitate big data analysis through data lake storage Gen 2. Okay, blob storage allows direct browser access to image files, PDFs or documents using a single link. Now guys, here you need to understand one very important point, which is this thing, binary data. Now what does this binary data over here means, right? So guys, binary data is basically whenever the word binary comes into your mind, then it's always about that matrix related green theme where zeros and ones are written, right? So that is kind of the picture which we get. But over here, the binary data is basically any data which can be stored in a computer system, right? In a physical computer system. So whatever data you put in your physical computer system, it gets saved in binary form, right? So similarly why it's mentioned over here as a binary data, because this same thing is happening on the cloud. So that is why over here it's mentioned as binary data. So basically, let us just get to understand why and for what reasons blob storage can be used for. So I'm just mentioning over here why blob storage. Okay, so first point which we have is so blob storage can be used for serving image or documents which can be directly fetched from the browser. So guys, it's absolutely similar to the Google Drive related functions which you have, okay, where you can easily store your own data, and whenever you want you can fetch it from the web itself by just getting one link of that file, right? So you must have seen those things. So this is one of them. Then we have storing files for distributed access. So just as we got to know that you can basically store the documents and then send it to any place, anywhere, wherever you want, to any particular person. If you want to assign certain security features to that file as well for certain people, that also you can do. So storing files for distributed access. Then what else can be done? You can also stream video and audio files. Okay, you can also stream video and audio files. So after that you have storing any data for backup and restore. Okay, so maybe if you want to save any particular data as a backup and then you want to restore it to a certain new application, to a certain new appliance, right? So through that as well you can perform. So storing any data for backup and restore, and storing for any analysis related tasks. Okay, analysis related tasks as well. And also one more thing where what you can do is to act as a bridge between between on-premise and your public cloud or private, whatever. Okay, so blob storage can be accessed through your on-premise setup as well, and through the private or public cloud, whichever you're having, okay, or any other Azure hosted service as well. I mean, there's just not private and public cloud. Okay, so these are some of the advantages when you are working with blob storage. Okay, so I hope you get an idea. I hope you got an idea about how you can use the blob storage, right? So blobs support streaming for audio and video, and they enable distributed file access and log file management as well. So log file management is nothing but keeping logs on whosoever person has entered to that blob storage to just check out any particular files, or just to keep a log of it. Okay, so guys, let us check on how to create this particular blob storage. Okay, so guys, first and foremost, whenever you want to create anything related to the storage side, you have to create your own storage account. Okay, so just search for storage accounts and create a storage account for so that you can work on all your tasks related to the storage services. So for that, you just need to keep on, the subscription will be free trial. Resource group can be this, but I would suggest to create a new one as scalar resource group or scalar. Okay, storage account name also I'll keep it as scalar 1, because there is already one storage account name available. So yeah guys, since this is the storage account is basically on a public DNS, you have to keep a very different or a unique name, so that it doesn't get it's not same with any other storage accounts. It should not overlap with any other storage accounts, right? So it should have a unique name. So I'm keeping it as scalar 1. Region, I'm keeping it standard East US. Performance, I'm keeping it as standard. Okay, just using the general purpose V2 account. If you want anything where you want lower latency, then you can use the premium standard as well, but I'm just keeping it as standard. Redundancy, I'm keeping it as locally redundant storage. Over here it's already mentioned what does it mean. So it means lowest cost option with basic protection against server rack and drive failures, recommended for non-critical scenarios. So right now we are not dealing with anything related to any critical scenarios. We are just learning about things. So I'll keep locally redundant. You can keep other services as well, like geo redundant, zone redundant, geo zone redundant storage as well, but right now I'm keeping it as local redundant storage. Clicking on next. Rest other things you can keep it as default. You can just get an idea about how these things work. So I'm not keeping anything on the advanced part, I'm keeping it as default. So next. So enable public access from all networks. Right now I'm not changing anything in the networking side, because I want my files and blob storage to get accessed by everyone, so that we can just learn about how the accessing and how the blob storage works. If I keep it as private, then I won't be able to show you all how the accessing part can take place. So this also we can keep it as default. Data protection also as default. I don't need any encryption as of now, so I'm keeping it as Microsoft managed keys only. Tags, it's optional, so I'm not adding anything. And let the validation check happen. So as soon as the validation check will get completed, you will be able to see this create option. So guys, now you can see our deployment is completed, and as soon as this is done, you can just click on go to resource. So now you'll see over here the complete storage account which you are having. Okay, and you can just click on storage browser to just get an idea on what type of storage services you have. So as I told you earlier also, we are having 4 different type of storage services. One is blob, file shares, tables and queues. Okay, so right now we'll be just catering to the blob storage as we learnt about it. So let's go and create our blob storage. So I'll just have to click on add container. Okay, and I'm naming it as scalar blob. Okay, it's written that it's private because anonymous access is disabled in this storage account. So let's check and let's allow the anonymous access. So over here you just need to go and you need to allow blob and anonymous access enabled. Okay, and then hit on save. So let the storage account get updated. I'm done with this. Go back to containers, sorry, not container, yeah, storage browser and then containers. You can directly also go, but I'm doing it in this way. Okay, add container. Okay, just let me check once. Okay, fine. Even if it's private, let's do it with private itself. Not an issue. Scalar blob, create, because just right now we are just showing on how to create this storage file. Okay, so I've done this, and you can just go and create, and I mean you can just upload a file. Okay, you can upload anything, maybe pictures, PDF, whatever you want. So right now I'm just uploading one random picture here and click on upload. So now you can see that we are having the file which is uploaded here, and whenever you want to access it, you can access it through the through this particular URL. It's absolutely similar to the way to the same way how you do it for your I mean for your Google Drive. Right now it's showing me that they can't show me because the access is in private mode, but you can share it to anyone and give the access as well. Okay, so this is how the blob storage works, right? And I hope you got an understanding on how the blob storage thing works. Okay, so let me just check once again, and I mean, or else wait, we'll do one more thing. We'll create another storage account, and this is for the private one, and now we'll create a public storage account. I'm naming it as public store, or rather public scalar. Locally redundant. Enable public access. This is also there. Data protection we don't need. Encryption also it's fine, and tags and review. Create. So let this get created. Yeah, now let's go to resource. Let me enable the access. You can either upload your own blob over here, or maybe you can create a container and add that as well. So that is also fine. Okay. So guys, this is all about how you can create your own blob and how you can add your files as well. Okay. Yes. So this was all about blob storage and how the blob storage functions can work. Okay. Next, we are going to understand about the file storage. Okay. So let us go and check on the file storage, right? Okay. So guys, file storage is basically, so the Azure file storage serves as a suitable choice when there's a need for shared drive connecting multiple servers or users. Okay. So file storage is nothing but, I mean, a kind of a storage service where you can share that file and allow multiple people to get the access to it, even if you are using I mean, either if you are using your Azure portal as well, or maybe you can access it through your VMs as well. Okay, your VMs also you can access it through your own PCs or physical drives or physical hard drives, whatever you want, you can access it through there as well. Okay, so Azure File Storage is a type of Azure service that was designed to support the needs of the Azure VM environment. That storage is in essence a network share. You can store files there and that can be accessed from different virtual machines, as I told you, right? So for implementing a file server in your organization, you should choose the Azure Files option, which I'll show you all how we can do. And a file server is used to share the files across department within your organizations. If maybe you want to share a single file from one single department to another department, you can do that as well. And you can also make different copies as well. So this is how basically the Azure File Storage works. Now you might be having a question over here that I am already using Azure Blob Storage, right? Now that is also doing a similar task, but so why I should use file storage, right? File storage is used over here so that you can share it to multiple people, okay, even if they are not working on an Azure cloud. Okay, if you want them to share it outside of the cloud as well, you can share that, right? Let me help you understand more through a practical approach. So let us go and create our own file sharing service here. So I'll again go to storage browser itself. Okay, and I'll go to file share. So here you can see the file share options is there, and click on add file share. So I'll just type the name file scaler. You can give your own name, not a problem. And so over here there are three different types. One is transaction optimized, so which is enabling transaction heavy workloads that don't need premium level latency. Great for applications that require file storage as a backend store. Hot is basically optimized for general purpose file sharing scenarios such as team shares and Azure file sync. Cool is when you are doing an optimizing for online archive storage scenarios. Okay, so guys, right now I'm keeping it as default, which is transaction optimized. Also one more thing, what you can do, even when the file share is created, you can change the tier from transaction optimized to hot or to cold, whatever you want. Okay, and this is the complete maximum capacity. You can also lower the capacity if you want. So this is created, right? Now I'll just upload a file over here. Again I'm adding another file, right? A random image, uploading it. It has been successfully uploaded. Okay, you can see the properties of the image. If you want, you can download it again as well, not a problem. If you want, you can use the URL as well to just check on the particular file. Okay, but what we are gonna do over here, we are gonna show you how we can connect our Azure file storage to the local system and then try to access it. Okay, because that's what actually the Azure file storage is for, right? So let me go on and do it. Okay, I mistakenly closed it off, but it's okay, we'll go back. Yeah, so here is the file storage. Okay, so now what I'll do, I'll click on this and I'll click on connect. Okay, so here is it. So guys, if you want to connect it via Windows, you can just see it over here, and you can just go and click on this show script, go to your Windows PowerShell. Okay, in all of your systems there will be Windows PowerShell, so you can go to the Windows PowerShell and you can copy this particular script and paste it over there and it will work. Same goes for Linux, and let me show you for Mac OS right now. Okay, so I'm clicking on show script. Mount file is already provided to me, and this is the show script which is there. Now I'll just open my terminal. So let me go and open my terminal. Okay, so here is my terminal, and I'll just paste this particular script which was there, hit enter. So it is asking me to whether I want to connect or not. So I'll just click on connect, and it will take a while, but it will get connected. Yeah. So you can see we are able to connect it, and I'm able to access the image as well. Okay. So this is how basically Azure File Services works, right? And now if you want, you can open the image, you can download it, whatever you want to do. You can maybe get a preview of it. So anything is possible by this, and this is how basically the Azure file storage works, right? So I hope you all are clear with how the file storage part works, and these are the two major services which people use, right? Next, we also have queues and we also have table. So you can get to know about that as well, but first let us understand what are queues and what are tables. So guys, Azure queue storage. Azure queues are like virtual mailbox where you put messages. Guys, one more thing, Azure queues are mostly used in those parts in a very it is used in a very application oriented services. Okay, for example, if you have created an e-commerce application or e-commerce website, and when you try to add the order to your bag, or maybe add the order to your wish list or wherever you want, right? So there a queue is formed, right? So that type of queue storage which is present still there. Now even if you have added it to your bag, or even if you added it to your cart, or even if you have added it to your wish list, it is still there, right? So basically this type of order processing system is taken care by Azure queue, right? So when a customer like places the order on the website, the order details are sent to a queue in the Azure queue storage, right? The order processing system, which might be a separate part of the application, picks up orders from the queue asynchronously. Okay, so this type of order processing system, which updates the inventory by sending messages to another queue and notifies the inventory management system about the items, that type of thing is part of Azure queue storage. Even guys, one more thing which is a part of Azure queue storage is the payment processing system, right? The payment processing system is also a kind of place where the Azure queue storage is used, right? So imagine you have someone sending messages and someone else picking up for them and doing something with them, right? So a sender and a client is over here, and then each message has some special features like a time limit before it disappears. So even when you work with the transaction related things, right? So this type of queue storage works really good in the OTP thing, right? So whenever you are basically want to do any particular transaction by using your credit card or a debit card, then an OTP goes to your mobile phones, right? So that type of, and then when you put the OTP, then only the transaction happens, right? So this is a kind of a queue storage. Also one more thing, suppose you have seen sometimes that the messages come in a very delayed manner, right? And then multiple OTPs form, but then there is still a queue maintained. The last message which is there, that message will only be used. Okay, so this is the type of queue storage which works. So it's a way to organize and manage messages between different parts of the system. Azure queue storage is a service provided by Azure, which is a cloud computing platform. Of course, it's like a virtual message queue that helps different parts of a program or different programs communicate with each other. Decoupling the components is one of the advantages of message queue service. So guys, this was all about the Azure queue service. It's used in a very application manner and in a very niche applications. So over here you can see you can add your queue as well, and you can create it, right? Next, what we have is Azure table storage. So guys, Azure table storage is basically a cloud-based NoSQL data store provided by Azure. It is designed to store and retrieve large amounts of semi-structured data, making it suitable for scenarios where you need to manage and query massive data sets. So guys, Azure, this type of data store occurs in a key value manner, right? So key value manner means there will be one primary key, there will be a foreign key, then there will be some data, right? And you can retrieve that data through the primary key and the foreign key. If you want to access these type of data sets as well, I mean these type of data good to say that you must use this type of storage service when you're having massive data sets, right? When you're having maybe a lot of logs to maintain, or when you're having a lot of things to take care in a single data set or in a single table. Okay, so if you have a super large amount of data and you want to store it in a NoSQL manner in Azure and performance is not a concern for you, you can definitely go for the Azure table storage, which is very cheap and could fit in your budget as well. I would suggest you can use this type of data set or maybe this type of storage when you are dealing with something related to backup side, right? So that you don't have to worry about how to access it, since it's a NoSQL data store, so you can easily access it as well. And you can store a lot of number of entities as well inside the particular table. So guys, this is all about the different type of storage services. So I hope you got an idea about the different storage services and how we can use these type of storage services. So now we have covered the computational part, we have covered the storage as well. Now one of the major core service of Azure is networking. Okay, so let us understand what networking means in Azure, right? So guys, Azure offers a variety of networking services to help users build, deploy and manage applications and services in the cloud. These services enable organizations to establish secure and scalable network architectures, right? So here are some of the key Azure networking services. One is Azure Virtual Network, another is Load Balancer, third is Application Gateway, and fourth is Traffic Manager. Okay, there are a number of other networking services as well, like Azure Firewall is also one of a part of it, but we will be covering only 4 as of now. So guys, what does networking means in Azure, right? Now, as you can see by the definition, it says that to help users build, deploy and manage applications and services in the cloud, right? So this services and deploying thing is taken care by Azure automatically. But why specifically we are talking about networking here? Because if we say that Azure is one of the most secured clouds in all of the cloud providers, right? So why the security features are there, right? The security features is there because you can create your own network inside this Azure portal, which means nobody can access your interface or your application by any third-party means. Okay, so for example, suppose your application is running on Azure. Let's take an example. Suppose an e-commerce website is running on your Azure portal, right? Now, during that time, you don't want any hacker or any tracker to actually penetrate into your website and maybe make some changes or maybe take in your data, right? Because that is something which is a concern for the privacy side as well, because there are a lot of customers which are adding their data to fetch their orders and everything, so they don't want a data leak to happen, right? Now, networking over here will allows only limited type of networks or limited type of IP addresses to access that particular website portal. Okay, so this is kind of something where networking is taking an important part of Azure, and also Azure leverages the fact that you can use different type of ventures and different type of verticals. You can create different type of verticals where you can add a separate traffic only for those verticals. For example, you create one type of vertical which is accessible to public, right? And then you create another type of vertical which maybe you don't want to provide the public access, like maybe the total number of orders in a day, right? The total number of orders in a day you get in that website is not a concern for public, and the public should not see that, right? So you can create your own different networking, a private cloud inside the Azure cloud where you can keep this data. Okay, which is very much secure than anything else. One of the major factors in networking of Azure is basically the Azure Virtual Network. One of the major factors. And guys, also in the exam, questions related to Azure Virtual Network does come. So learn thoroughly about what actually Azure Virtual Network is. Let me move to the next slide. So guys, what actually virtual network does is that it allows you to create isolated networks to host your VMs and other Azure resources, right? So here are some of the reasons why you should use Azure VNets. virtual network is also pronounced as VNets. Okay, so it provides an isolated environment. Yes, subnet can access the public cloud. Now subnet over here means a single type of network. Okay, a single network which you want through a single portal or maybe through a single IP address. So this is basically subnet over here means. Traffic can be easily filtered from resources. It is highly secured, high network connectivity, and building sophisticated network topologies in a simple manner. So this is why Azure VNets are used, and that's why it is one of the most fundamental usage of your Azure virtual network, right? I mean of your Azure portal. So guys, basically the work of Azure virtual network, which is used in the real-time place, is majorly to create an isolated environment. Okay, now let's take a scenario over here. I'll just explain you through a diagram. According to you, think of the most secured place, or maybe most secured place, or like most secured vertical in the internet, right? You might say that there is Google Drive, right? So you might say that there is Google Drive, and you can and if you want, you can just restrict the access, keep it only for yourself, right? That is there, but it is still a public cloud, right? I am showing you how you can how you can create something which is very robust inside, and you will inside the Azure cloud, and then you will understand how public and private cloud works. So guys, this is our Azure portal, right? Now with this Azure portal, we have something, or rather you can say this is your private network. Okay, private network, or maybe just a network connection, right? And I'm adding a internet connection in between this. Okay, this is the internet. Why I'm adding this in between this infrastructure and over here? So that this infrastructure is basically exposed to the outside world. Okay, so internet has been provided over here. Now what I do, I create one virtual network here. I create one virtual network. So this is basically a public VNet. Okay, public virtual network, right? This is a public virtual network. Now what I do over here, I create 2 or 3 VMs over here. One VM, wait, I'll just duplicate this. Another VM, right? Both of these VMs can interact with each other. Okay, both of these VMs can interact with each other. Both of these VMs are added over here, right? Now this is still exposed to the internet, right? Why? Because it's a public VNet, and you are creating something which is absolutely exposed to the internet as well, right? So these are the 2 VMs which is there. Okay, these are the 2 VMs which is there, and these 2 VMs can easily interact with each other, right? Of course they can interact with each other because they are in a single public VNet. Okay, they are in a single public VNet, and by public VNet I mean it has the access to, we have provided it the access to use the internet. Okay, so internet can also be connected to this particular public VNet, and these 2 can also get interacted. Now what I do, I create another VNet. Another VNet, and I add one more virtual machine. Okay, I add one more virtual machine, right? So this is another VM. Okay, now what do you all think? Can this VM interact with this public VNet right now? Like, is it possible to if they can connect? I haven't provided them any internet access or anything, right? It's just a normal VNet which is there, which is present, and so it can't connect with this. Okay, until and unless there is something which is known as peering occurs. There is something which is known as peering. You need to peer both of these VNets together, then only they can access each other, and then only they can have, they can share data or whatever they want to do, right? That will only happen when there is there is connections between them, right? Now what if I create another VNet. Now this VNet, I am restricting the internet access to it, although I have to provide the internet access to this, but over here I am restricting the internet access. Okay, and there is this VM which is attached. Also I am mentioning this as VNet 2 and this one as VNet 3. Yes, now VM is there, right? Now this is not exposed to any of the internet. This is not exposed to any of your public VNet or other virtual networks, whichever is there. Now what you can do is, now to get access to it, what you can do, you can create a separate connection with your public VNet. Okay, you can create a separate connection with your public VNet, right, and provide only a certain amount of traffic and only certain certain port number traffic, right? Suppose if you want to access only 22 port number, right, then only the connection with 22 port number will happen, right? Now when the file transfer and everything is done, what you do, you basically remove this particular bridge. You remove this particular bridge from here. Now whenever you want to do any connection, again you have to establish a connection over here, which means again you need to add this bridge in between, then only you will be able to access it, right? Now when the bridge gets removed, there is no connection with this particular private network, which means that this is the utmost safest place of putting your data files. Okay, because there is no connection to internet, there is no connection within the Azure portal, so it's a separate entity all towards itself, right? So this is how basically the virtual network can help to create a very secured environment in your cloud. Okay, so I hope you all understood how public network and private network works, and how you can keep a secure data files in your Azure portal and in your Azure virtual network. So let us learn more about this. So guys, here there are some components which you all need to understand considering the virtual network. One is subnets, right? One is subnets. So this lets user segment the virtual network into one or more subnetworks. Subnets provide several benefits, including improved security, efficient network traffic management, and better organization of resources as well. So basically what subnets is doing is segmenting the virtual network's traffic into different zones. Okay, so through one zone, one traffic can enter, and if you want multiple zones as well, you can create multiple subnets also, right? So subnetting is like that only, right? And so it definitely helps to improve security, because if you want to limit the number of traffic, then you can do that by limiting the number of subnets if you want to provide it, right? And limiting the number of people who can use this subnets, right? Through a particular traffic, through a particular IP address, you can block a certain number of traffic as well, right? So this is how subnetting works. Then we have something which is known as routing. Now in routing, if you see the definition, routing refers to the process of directing the network traffic between different networks or subnets. Now subnetting is something where the different subnets have been created. Okay, but now for which particular subnet we need to provide the internet connection, or for which particular subnet we need to restrict the access, that you can do by the help of routing. Okay, so understanding how routing works is crucial for designing a network architecture that meets your application's requirement, right? So which type of routing works according to your usage? If suppose you want to create a multinational organization, then you have to provide traffic from the resources which is outside of your particular regions, right? Maybe if I'm creating a product and something which I want only to be shared to the Indian audience, then why would I add more number of subnets, which can lead to more risk of data leakage as well, right? So this is how routing works. Then we have network security groups, which is one of the most important component. this network security groups is basically only used to control the inbound and outbound traffic. Right now, if you want maybe a certain amount of traffic to enter your particular application, then only you will be able to then network security groups will allow you to access for it. And one simple example which I can show you all how this thing works. So guys, many of you know about this particular thing, HTTPS, right, which is hypertext transfer protocol, and then S is that it's a secured version, right? Only secured lines can enter this particular site, right? Now, if there's only HTTP, which means if any certain connections is occurring which is following only the HTTP protocol, then I can restrict that access as well. Okay, so this is how basically the network security group is used to restrict access, to restrict access for a certain amount of traffic. Okay, so it can also control the number of traffic also by allowing a certain number of IPs only. So this is what NSGs are used for. So NSGs act as basic stateful and rule-based firewall, allowing you to define rules that permit or deny traffic based on various criteria. So I hope you all got an understanding about the Azure Virtual Network. Now next we are going to understand about Azure Load Balancer. So guys, by the name this load balancer, what comes in your mind? So load balancer over here means it distributes users' traffic across multiple instances of your application. Load balancer is one of the common techniques used during those sale times, right? Big Billion Days, Great Indian Sale of Amazon and Flipkart, right? Whenever those things happen, they already know that the user base will be more than the usual. User traffic will be more than usual traffic, right? So what load balancer will do? Load balancer will divide that traffic into multiple instances, so that even there is not too much traffic on your server, and as well as the user also gets a streamlined and easy flow of access to the site, right? Otherwise, you must have seen when the user traffic gets increased, there are delays occurring in the sites, right? But in the case of these sales during those time, it rarely happens because the application is very it's very optimized with the help of load balancers. What are the different uses of load balancer? Load balancer balances both internal and external Azure virtual machine traffic. It distributes resources within and across zones to increase availability. Okay, it configures the Azure VM outbound connectivity. It monitors load balanced resources with health probes. It allows access to different VMs in a virtual network by port and public IP address with port forwarding. So this is what actually load balancer is used for, but let us understand in a much better manner. So let me explain you with a diagram. So let's take an example. This is a user. A user or a PC, whatever you can say. So this is my PC, right? Now a user is sitting over here and is trying to access a certain site. Okay, and then what will happen? How load balancer kicks in? So let me first create the load balancer. So guys, this is the symbol of load balancer actually. Because usually whenever you will be working with any cloud environment, they have to create a blueprint of how the operations and how the applications will run, right? Now to do that, it's basically you need to use the terminologies and the symbols to make you understand how these things will work. So I'm creating that for you. So this is how the load balancer actually looks. So yeah, So guys, let us understand with this particular example. So this is a user and maybe he tries to enter a certain e-commerce website, okay, and during those times the sale is happening. So what actually load balancer will do, load balancer will divide the traffic into different virtual machines, right, into different virtual machines or into different instances where the traffic can be separated and everybody can get the access of the site, right? So if the user base increases or if the traffic gets increased, then load balancer comes into play, okay? So whenever, I'll just mention it in the theoretical manner as well. When internet client sends web page request to the public IP address of the web page on maybe a TCP port of 80, okay, you don't have to go into detail what this TCP port is. Right now it's just a port, or maybe it's just a just a pathway through which the internet can get, through which the user can access that particular application. So what Azure load balancer will do, Azure load balancer distributes the request across 3 different VMs in the load balancer set. So eventually it will create 3 different VMs, okay? So this is how basically the load balancer functions, right? Any theoretical concepts which we are missing? No. So guys, I hope you understood about how the load balancer works by this particular example. This example is very important for you all to understand how the load balancing works. And whenever you're asked with this or during maybe any interview side as well, it's better to show it in a diagram. It adds more credibility to your knowledge as well, right? So yes guys, this is all about the load balancer side. Next we have the application gateway. So next we have the application gateway. So guys, in Azure, an application gateway is a load balancer service that enables you to manage and optimize the traffic to your web application. It acts as a traffic manager, directing client requests to the appropriate servers based on various factors. It is basically used when you expect many users in your apps or wish to manage web traffic based on incoming requests. So guys, one of the major usage of application gateway is that so whenever, let's take an example of Amazon, right? Now there are different sites of Amazon in different countries. For example, you can also get access to Amazon.in, which is the India part of Amazon, right? And you also have Amazon, maybe Amazon.uk or maybe some other countries like Netherlands, so right, which is very indigenous to that particular region, right? So you can access to that as well, right? So application gateway can basically help you to understand which particular traffic needs to go to which particular server or which particular application in a certain number of servers. So maybe if you have created different virtual machines, and maybe if you want your application to maybe redirect it to a certain number of crowd only, so application gateway is the answer for all your problems. Next we have Azure Traffic Manager. So guys, Azure Traffic Manager is also a kind of load balancing solution, right? This enables in controlling and load balancing the flow of traffic to specific endpoints. So guys, this is all the part of load balancer itself. Okay, considering the application gateway and also traffic manager, it's somewhat a subset of load balancer itself, right? But it is in a more detailed manner. right? These endpoints include any resource from Azure Cloud Service Platform, including virtual machines, websites, and database. So now if you want the certain traffic to maybe access your virtual machine, you can do that. If you want a certain traffic to get access to websites or maybe to your database, Azure Traffic Manager is basically used for it. So guys, for the exam purposes, just know about the definition and the usage of all of these services, because Azure Fundamentals is all about the working and the usage of the services which is there. So guys, next point is something, next service is something which is really important for everyone to understand, which is Azure Identity and Access Management. Okay, IAM resources. Azure Identity and Access Management is a set of service and features that helps you to manage who has access to what in your own Azure cloud. What actually Azure IAM does is, consider it as something whenever you log in into your PC or maybe Windows laptop or a Mac OS, you know that you have different profiles, right? There are a number of people who can access to your particular system, right? You can create multiple roles, you can create multiple profiles. One can be an administrator profile, then one can be a contributor profile, right? So in this way you can create multiple number of profiles through which you can provide separate type of security authentication as well, right? So this is similar to that related feature, okay? And with Azure also you can create something like this, but it will be on cloud. Okay, so if you want a certain people to access Azure cloud, you can do that by using IAM. If you want certain people to maybe access certain resources of Azure cloud, you can do that also. So this is what actually Azure IAM is for. So let's take an example. Suppose I'm having my complete application on Azure cloud, right? Now, let's take an example. For a certain number of people, I don't want them to see the billing side of my Azure portal. Okay, I don't want them to actually access the billing dashboard of Azure portal. So I can restrict them to not access any cost explorer service or any billing related services which is there, so that they cannot see the billing cycles and everything, right? So in this way I can create separate number of users with separate number of permissions and roles and responsibilities through which they can get restricted or maybe they can get access to certain amount of services only. So Azure IAM enables you to grant and manage access to Azure resources based on the principle of least privilege. Okay, securely stores and manages access keys and other sensitive credentials. Very important, guys. The access keys and sensitive credentials should not be shared to everyone. Okay, then they might misuse your Azure portal for their personal works. So monitor and audit access to your Azure resources, meet compliance requirements for access control and data security. So this is a brief about IAM. Now IAM also has a certain subcategory, I would say, which is Azure RBAC. Okay, now Azure RBAC or Azure Role-Based Access Control enables access management for Azure resources. It's an authorization system built into the Azure Resource Manager. Just like how I said earlier, right? If you want a certain group of people to only have certain rights or maybe certain privileges to open a certain number of services, right? So you can use Azure RBAC to provide different roles and permissions for that particular account, okay? So that they can't misuse any other resources even by mistakenly also. So you can use Azure RBAC to define which specific users should be allowed access to Azure cloud resources and assign a set of privileges for each user group. There are around 70 roles for RBACs, but here are the ones which are the fundamental ones. One is owner, then is contributor, then is reader, then is user access administrator. Here are the major four roles which is there. Number one is the owner. So owner will be having the maximum access. Then another is contributor, which maybe they have only a certain limited access, which is they can only add files to Azure. They cannot see or they cannot read those files. They'll be only having the write only access. Okay, then there is a reader access, where by the name only you can understand that it's only for reading, right? Which means you can only just fetch data and you can only see, you cannot manipulate the data over there, right? Then we have user access administrator, which means that that particular administrator will be providing access to different users. Okay, so there are other rules as well, but these four are the majority and the major ones. So guys, I hope the RBAC part is also clear for everyone. Next, let us understand about cost management. So guys, Azure Cost Management is basically a suite of tools within the Azure platform designed to help you track, analyze, and optimize your cloud spending. It provides complete visibility into your Azure resources, usage, and costs, allowing you to identify cost-saving opportunities and make informed decisions about your cloud investments. Azure Cost Management, or maybe any other cloud computing providers who provide services related to cost management, is a very important feature, because every time you need to understand that you are paying for whatever the service you are using, right? Now, there should be no misuse of that particular feature as well, right? Because maybe let's take an example. Suppose if I am using a certain VM only for like 1 day or 2 days, and I'm getting charged for it like maybe more than 2 days or 3 days, right? So this is something which is an anomaly and you need to take care of it, right? So Azure Cost Management, with the Azure Cost Management, you will get an idea that if you are running a certain resource for maybe for certain days or certain hours, you'll get an estimated amount of it. Okay, so this is just one of the feature of Azure Cost Management. So other benefits are increased cost visibility, improved cost control, optimized resource allocation, informed decision making, and reducing the risk of unexpected billing. So increased cost visibility means, as I told, you will get an idea about this much amount will be used for your resource, right? So whenever you create a VM also, they show you that an estimated amount of maybe 0.5 paisa per hour will be used for running this certain service or something like that, right? Based on the configuration you have created. Okay. Then we have improved cost control. So definitely when you get an idea, then you are also aware that, okay, let me use my task, let me use this service for the certain task for a certain period of time only. Okay. Then comes optimized resource allocation. So if maybe you are having a crunch related to any money side as of now, maybe you don't want to spend more on your, on certain resources, then you can optimize your resource allocation accordingly. Okay, informed decision making. So you will get an idea that after 3 or 4 days, the amount which you want to spend, it might exceed with that. So you can take a decision according to that. Reduces the risk of unexpected billing. So you will have an estimated amount, which means that there won't be any major change occurring while the billing amount comes up. So maybe if you are told 0.5 paisa per hour, there won't be like, they won't take 3 or 4 rupees per hour. Okay, because the estimation is already provided. It will be something around that only. So guys, here are some of the major features of cost management. So let us just understand all of these things. Okay, so one is cost analysis. So cost analysis means that it shows you a detailed cost breakdown by resources, services, resource group, subscription, and management group. So guys, one of the major advantage of Azure is that it shows very minute details also. Okay, like even 0.01 rupees of which particular resource is getting used by this number of time, it will show you each and everything. Then we have budgeting, which allows you to set budgets to track your spending against predefined limits and receive alerts when you approach or exceed your budget. Right, same goes for recommendation. You also get personalized recommendation for optimizing your cost, such as identifying underutilized resources, reserving resources for predictable workloads, and exploring alternative pricing solutions as well. So recommendations is also provided by Azure Cost Management. Cost allocation is basically where it allows costs to different departments, projects or teams for better cost tracking and chargeback. Then we have exports and reports. Now you can download all these reports and you can export these reports that just to understand about any further analysis which is required, or maybe predicting how much amount can be used for the next month. And the last, we have integrations, which is you can integrate cost management with different type of services as well. So suppose, as I told about VMs, you can easily get to know that this much amount is used. Maybe if you are using any storage related accounts as well, you will get an estimation as well. So guys, this was all about cost management as well. And I hope you got an idea about how the cost management works. So that's all for this video, guys. If you're having any doubts, put it down in the comment section below. And if you like the video, hit the like button, subscribe to Scaler's YouTube channel for more such content. Thank you.